Must be that young lady who's having a Mexican sandwich or
Yeah,
something.
could be.
Mark said he has no audio.
Oh,
Mark,
wow, I
doesn't-
saw that.
Mark, can you hear? Shake your head if you can hear us. We just can't hear you. No, I guess not.
Okay, who's got music playing?
Yeah, we gotta find out who it is.
Yeah, it's probably me.
I wondered.
Well, okay, I guess we'll go. Somebody stopped it. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Transportation Committee, a work session. We appreciate you being with us today. This is a work session. The meeting is live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel, and all participants via Zoom are seen and heard. The mic is on, so the speakers must be recognized before speaking. And the meeting is also recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after the meeting is concluded. A work session, remind everybody that work session is not a public hearing, and the committee is for the committee to discuss the bills and then take a vote one way or another. Members may request through the chair for others to provide information. The committee vote will be calling the members' names for the vote, so that's all be recorded and visual. I would like to introduce the committee members, or have the committee members introduce themselves before we begin, and we'll start with Senator Farren. Good afternoon, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brad Farren, representing Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County and the town of Rome and Kennebec County.
Thank you, Senator Chipman.
I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is part of the city of Portland. And just as a note, that we're getting some music coming
I
through
know, I'm trying to,
Yeah,
where that's coming from, but someone needs to mute themselves.
hopefully we can get to them when we introduce them.
Yep, great.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Wayne Perry.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Thank you. Representative Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Representative Lynn Williams. I represent District 135, which is Bar Harbor, Lemoyne, and Mount Desert.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Dustin White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. State Representative Dustin White. I represent 10 towns in Central Aroostook County, and I'm from Mars Hill.
Thank you. Representative Mike Perkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District number 77 in Oakland.
really weird.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. You've got a little audio problem there too, just in case. Representative Mark Bryant, can you hear us now? Guess not. He's still having audio.
Mark can hear us.
We'll come back to it. Representative Bruce White.
Hi, yes, thank you, Senator. I am Representative Bruce White from Waterville, District 109.
Thank you, sir. Representative Tom Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Martin. I represent District 57, which is Green and Spatus.
Thank you, sir. Representative Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Kevin O'Connell, District 128. It's 95.56% of Brewer.
Representative Rich Seabrook.
Hey, good afternoon, Senator. I'm Representative Rich Seabrook, District 68, the towns of Naples, Sebago, Baldwin, and Cornish and Parsonsville.
Thank you, Representative Seabrook. And House Chair, Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150, located in northern Aroostook County.
Thank you, sir. And I'm Bill Diamond, a senator from District 26. I live in Wyndham, and my town circle Sebago Lake. We also will say that we're proud of our analysts, Sam Prower, Karen Netto, and Susan Voynick, and our committee clerk, Darlene Simino, for all the work she does, and for all of them. Thank you very much for that. As we said, this is a work session today, and we'll be dealing with 4 bills. And we're going to start with LD 252. It's an act to expand training opportunities for Department of Transportation workers, presented by Representative Bryant. And we'll bring Sam in and give us a little update.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. And I just wanted to note for everybody what I had noted in my email when I sent you the materials for today, which is that I also have a couple bills back with fiscal note updates for you and one amendment back for language. But we can do those obviously after the rest of the work session.
Right.
So this is LD 252, an act to expand training opportunities for Department of Transportation workers. This bill includes a highway fund allocation of $599,870 in fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and $1,235,732 in fiscal year 2022 to 2023 to the Department of Transportation for 5 driver trainer positions in the fiscal year 2021-2022 and 5 additional driver trainer positions in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023. I don't know if you want me to walk through the summary of the testimony provided for this bill. Would you like me to do that, or just state who was there in support? Or
Just keep it, yeah, go right to that, because we have to hear that. We wanted to hear what's going on with it besides the bill itself.
okay, yeah. So I'll note the proponents and the opponents. The proponents of the bill was sponsor Representative Bryant, also Jeff McCabe and McKendra Clements, and the opponents to the bill were Maine DOT. I just wanted to note for you that this bill is exactly as described, and the fiscal impact is shown in the bill language. And pretty much what this will do is it'll establish these positions as a baseline for budgets moving forward. And there's actually no statutory language in the bill itself. So that's really all I have for you.
Okay, thank you. Questions of Sam before we get an update from the department? Hold on, I get my participants up. Yes, Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if Darlene has seen the chat, but Mark Bryant, Representative Bryant would like for someone or you, Darlene, to send a new link. He's trying to get on board.
I sent it out in that chat. I don't know if you got it.
We're still working on that. Why don't we go to, I'm going to ask Nina Fisher or Megan Russo to give us an update on what's happening with this or what's happening with this whole piece. Give the committee an update.
Thank you, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin. I am Nina Fisher. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Maine Department of Transportation. And can you folks all hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's that external mic. It works every time. We have been in conversations with Jeff McCabe, who represents MSEA, SEIU. Again, we cannot reiterate how much we appreciate when our employees participate in the legislative process. It makes our job easier. It gives them a broader perspective on what we're dealing with. We are looking to set up a meeting with them to kind of hear more of their issues and talk about it with their bureau director, our head of HR, myself, Jeff as well. I think we've had some scheduling issues. These folks, they don't work at a computer like I do. It's a different nature of the job that they do, and it's a little more difficult to schedule. So we're wondering if at this time we could have a little more time to continue to work with them and work towards having that face-to-face virtual meeting with the employees who have raised those concerns, if that's possible.
Thank you for that. Other questions of Ms. Fisher on her request? Or sounds like things are going well. Is that fair to say?
That is, again, any opportunity we have to have these conversations with our employees, we welcome them. And this certainly would be different. And we would like to be able to hear what their concerns are and see if there's a way that we can address them, certainly in lieu of legislation or certainly in lieu of a fiscal note.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Nina, how much time do you feel you need?
That's a good question. I am just kind of looking at the committee schedule. I know that the full legislature is in next week. You've kept things relatively quiet on that end. And the week after that, it appears as though you're doing a lot of bills that focus on Bureau of Motor Vehicles. So that would give us at least a 2-week time period. I think at that point, if we're not able to kind of make that connection, then we might have a different recommendation for the committee moving forward. But I think if we just wait after the 2 weeks you've already had scheduled, we should be in better shape.
Mr. Chair, I'd be prepared to make a tabling motion, but I see that Representative Mark Bryant is on, and I think his system is now working. I wonder if he has any comments on this bill before we entertain a tabling motion.
Thank you. And I also want to hear from, I think from Jeff McCabe, since he was major testifier. But yes, Representative Mark Bryant, I just want to double check. You with us okay now?
He's muted.
Oh, we'll come back. I would ask Jeff, would you come in, Jeff McCabe, come in and talk with the committee on where, from your angle, what's going on?
Yeah, fantastic. I appreciate the deputy commissioner's comments. I appreciate the several phone calls and conversations we've had, including a FaceTime meeting today. I would reiterate that I think 2 weeks' time should be plenty for us to come back to the committee with an update and hopefully, a plan to move forward. So I think that would give us plenty of time. And I do just echo, this time of year, getting our transportation workers on a call can be challenging. They're often working while we're sleeping, and it is a busy time of year for them, but we can definitely get something on the books. We met with some of our folks last night to make a plan for the meeting with the department. So we feel like we're in a good spot to meet.
Thank you. Questions of Jeff from the members of the committee? Seeing none. Representative Bryant, are you with us yet?
He sent a message. I saw it, but because I sent him something, welcome him back, and he said he can hear us,
okay,
but he cannot. His mic is still muted. Anything on our end?
Anything, Darlene, on your side here before we finally? I've got a feeling there's a motion coming here, but I wanted to check with Mark if at all possible. Darlene, anything you have for him?
I can see him, but I can't unmute him. He has to hit the unmute himself.
Okay. Well, I think everyone.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion?
You sure can.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we table this for a couple reasons.
No,
Representative Brian
just table.
Yeah, let's just table it.
Yeah.
For a couple weeks.
No, okay. Unless you're saying for a time certain, the motion is just to table. Is that okay? All right. Is there a second to the motion to table?
I'll second that.
Second, thank you. No discussion on a tabling motion. Darlene, will you take us through?
So, well, Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Martin. Danny.
Yes. Yes.
Senator Farren.
Yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
Representative White. Dustin.
Yes.
Senator Chipman.
Yes.
Representative Mark Bryant. Can we hear? He's waving. I'm assuming that's a yes. Representative Bruce White.
Yes.
Representative Martin, Tom Martin,
Yes.
and Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes.
And you've all been bad children because you didn't turn your screens on. You know who you are.
So
Not all.
They're
Not
all on.
all,
Darlene. It
but-
must be you.
Huh?
They're all on. It must be you.
I'm not seeing videos of several of you.
Darlene, could you announce the vote, please?
Yep.
Yep.
1,
Thank you.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Well, Actually, Mark Bryant really is here.
He is here.
Yeah,
We'll get him,
13.
get him on audio sooner or later, hopefully.
Okay, it's unanimous, 13.
Vote is unanimous. The motion to table prevails. Thank you all very much for that. Our next bill is LD 395. An act to remove the authorization for temporary signs to be placed in the public right of way, presented by Representative Ordway of Standish. Sam, I think you're up.
All right, thank you, Senator Diamond. As you'll all note, for the bill analysis for this bill, I did something a little different than I normally do. Since we had two bills dealing with temporary signs today, I put them on the same sheet and I put them next to each other so you could see the differences side by side. But I will, just for this one, go through 395 on its own, and we'll address 186 when we get there. One thing or a couple things I wanted to note for you before I get started was at the end of the bill analysis, I also provided a sheet with just kind of an overview of Maine's temporary sign laws in case you're interested. And I also provided you with a chart that one of our researchers kindly put together that kind of gives you a history back to 2011 of all the different bills this committee has seen affecting temporary sign laws, in case you're interested. Anyways, the LD 395, this is an act to remove the authorization for temporary signs to be placed in the public right of way. This bill does what it says it does. It removes the authorization for a person to place a temporary sign in the public right of way. And it also removes the civil violation that would currently apply to that provision for people who would take, deface, or disturb such signs. And the only reason that's part of the bill is because when you remove the temporary signs, all the stuff that kind of goes with temporary signs goes with it. At the public hearing, the sponsor, Representative Ordway, was testified in support of the bill. The only opponents I noted testifying against the bill was the Wild Blueberry Commission of Maine, and then Maine DOT testified neither for nor against the bill. I've provided you a summary of what our current temporary sign law is, and I also have highlighted a portion that designates kind of the 6-week periods in which temporary signs are allowed to be placed. And I highlighted that for you because that was language that was amended during the 129th second regular by LD 689. So I just wanted you to see kind of like the most recent change to the temporary sign law that came out of this committee. A few things I just wanted to note before I hand it over to you. One technical issue I noted for the bill was the definition of temporary sign is very broad. And if you were to go forward with this bill, you may want to amend some of the language slightly that's prohibiting temporary signs from being placed to make sure that other signs that are explicitly allowed under Section 1913A, and these include like directional signs and other types of signs that like the department or local governments will put up on the road, are explicitly permissible because, you know, like I said, the definition of temporary sign is very broad, and you wouldn't want to, or you want to be careful about capturing things you don't intend to. Of note, legal issues regarding this bill, banning a specific category of signs does raise issues relevant to the regulation of free speech under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. I do have some notes for you on that if you would like to hear from me. However, I do know that Chris Taub from the AG's office is here as well to provide you information on that. And I think that's all I have for you. Are there any questions?
Questions? And we will bring, excuse me, we will bring on the Assistant AG to answer any questions the committee may have as well, Chris Taub. So, but questions of Sam before we bring on Chris? Don't see any. So Chris Taub, would you mind coming on?
Yes. Can you see me?
Is he with us, Darlene?
Can you see me, folks, or no?
Oh, there we go. We got you now. Yes.
Okay, great.
Now we lost you again, but there we go. We got you. Yep. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right. Would you share with the committee any thoughts or concerns or whatever you have with the bill, and let us know anything you think we should be aware of, or remind us, I should say, what we should be aware of?
Sure. So I just joined the work session. I've been in the waiting room. I don't know if you folks have already had some discussions. If you have, I wasn't listening to that. So I'm just jumping in for the first time now. So I just don't know if I've missed any context.
No, we just had the presentation by an analyst about reminding us what took place at the committee public hearing.
Okay. So I've been in the AG's office for a while, and these sort of bills about signs in the right of way seem to come up periodically. And back in, I guess it was maybe 2015, when the Supreme Court issued a pretty watershed decision called Reed versus Town of Gilbert, that really made everyone realize that the existing statute that governed temporary signs in the right of way was probably unconstitutional, because the court made pretty clear that you can't distinguish based on category of signs. So you can't have like one set of rules for political signs, a different set of rules for farmers market signs, a third set of rules for bean supper signs. There has to be sort of a uniform set of laws that are going to apply to all signs in the right of way. So working with Phyllis Gardner, and I can't remember who else we were working with, but we sat down and really sort of revamped the sign law. And it turned out to be sort of more complicated than we were expecting, because we really had to satisfy a lot of different interests. Like, we had to satisfy sort of political interests that wanted to have signs up on a daily basis for a set period before an election or before a primary. We had to deal with like farmers markets that wanted to have maybe a sign up every Sunday, but for the whole summer. Churches that wanted to have like a bean supper sign up for maybe a couple days, like Thursdays and Fridays. So it really sort of took a lot of thinking and brainstorming, but we finally came up to what I think is a pretty good solution, in that it really doesn't impose any sort of content specific restrictions on signs, but it does address some of the concerns that I think a lot of people had. One of which is just the proliferation of signs in the right of way. I mean, a lot of people just don't like to see all these signs. Signs being abandoned for a long time, people not retrieving their signs. Seeing 15 signs all for the exact same candidate or political cause or whatever, all clustered in the same island. So that's sort of how we got to where we are now. And I can address both bills. Do you want me to address both of them now, or is there just one that you're taking up at this point?
No, we're just taking up one. If you would mind, just wait for the other one.
And so which one is the committee considering right now?
We're doing 395 right now, and act to remove authorization for temporary signs to be placed in public right away.
Yeah. So it's clear that a state can completely. I mean, just to step back for a second, I think that the Supreme Court and most courts would say that the right of way is essentially a limited public forum, and so states can absolutely prohibit, likely, signs in the right of way. So if a state decided that going forward we were going to allow 0 signs in the right of way, that would likely be constitutional. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the state certainly can't only allow certain signs in the right of way, like allow signs for farmers markets, but not signs for political candidates. That would almost certainly be unconstitutional. So I think this bill comes pretty close to being a flat prohibition on at least temporary signs in the right of way. The only real issue that I can see with it is there are still going to be some other kinds of signs that are going to be allowed. Not temporary signs, but they're still going to be like permanent signs. For example, non-commercial signs erected by a duly constituted governmental body, soil and water conservation district or regional planning district. The Adopt a Highway program signs. The other ones are really sort of there's one for signs that identify bus stops or fare zone limits for buses. So I mean, those are really a pretty narrow, specific type of sign. They all seem to serve sort of a governmental interest. I can't say though, definitively that a court would say that the state isn't sort of running afoul of the First Amendment by banning all signs except for those categories of signs. But I think it would definitely be defensible. I mean, I think we'd definitely be able to argue that, look, we have essentially banned all temporary signs. There are a few very specific categories of permanent signs that are allowed. Those are really signs that are intended to further a governmental interest, not any kind of personal, private, commercial interest. So I think it would definitely be defensible. I just can't, I guess, sit here and tell you definitively that there's no chance that a court wouldn't potentially write down something like that. So let me pause there, and I just kind of threw a lot of information at you, and maybe see if anyone has any questions and see if I can help clarify it.
Thank you for that. Just to clarify before we go to Representative Perry, temporary sign would be anything that you didn't just mention. For example, it could be a political sign or a bean supper sign. Is that correct?
Correct. It would be anything that doesn't fit within those categories A, B, C, D, G, and I.
Got it. Thank you. Representative Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I was there when we did the original sign bills and when the original Supreme Court decision came down. And we were told back then on a legal opinion that we could not differentiate. We couldn't say political or farm signs or whatever and do them separate. But they did say if we chose to do all temporary signs, that was fine. Government signs don't count anyway. So, and that was stated in that decision. So that's what we were told then. Nobody wanted to do a complete ban, and that's why we've had the mishmash the last 5 or 6 years or whatever. But as far as completely banning temporary signs, that was told to us when we first did it, that we could do that, but we couldn't do political one way, other signs another way. Government signs, permanent signs, the Supreme Court decision had nothing to do with permanent signs. It was all about temporary signs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably right. I guess just one maybe finer point to put on that is the Adopt a Highway program signs are a little bit of, they sort of are blurred in the line of like governmental versus commercial, because my understanding is those are signs that say like this stretch of roadway sponsored by Acme hardware store or whatever. So, someone could argue, I suppose, why are we still allowing those signs in the right of way? But, another hardware store can't put a sign in the right of way, a temporary sign. But having said that, I agree with you, Representative, that I think a complete ban on temporary signs would likely pass the First Amendment.
Thank you. Senator Chipman has a question.
Yeah, so I don't have so much of a question. I just, we've spent a lot of time in the last few years on multiple signs. And, I think that the work that was done back in 2015 and the work we did last year, gone about as far as we can with this issue. I don't know that maybe there is an appetite for banning all temporary signs, but I personally wouldn't want to ban signs for farmers markets, craft sales, things like that. If we want to allow those entities to still put signs up. So if we do, then it seems like there isn't really a lot more we can do without running afoul of the Constitution. So I'd like to make a motion not to pass.
Motion's made ought not to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Senator Farren. Thank you. We'll go to Representative Perry. You had another question. Representative Perry?
Yeah, my picture keeps jumping around for some reason.
All right.
No, I agree. But the thing about farm signs or bean supper signs or anything like that, I guarantee you there's 1,000 people in town that would have no problem putting them on their private property. So I don't think, to me, that's not an issue. It's the other 1,000 signs that are out there that are gonna be a real issue, that have been a real issue. And part of the next bill coming up is part of the reason. So it's one of those deals that, you know, it always used to be a lot of respect in front of people's property, and it's turned out not to be. And so I think that's why, you know, both of these bills here are coming up, and I would be against the motion and support a not to pass motion.
Yes, Representative O'Connor.
Thank you, Senator. If we were to pass this, would this not override individual municipalities' ordinances?
Question, Mr. Todd, maybe you could answer that question. Would this override municipal ordinances?
I believe it would be. My only hesitation is that there are some right-of-ways that I think are owned by the state, and there are other ones that are locally owned. I'm just looking at the language. I think this would override any kind of municipal local ordinances. I don't think, just put it another way, if this bill passed, I don't think a town could pass an ordinance that would permit temporary signs in the right of way.
I could see that stirring up a hornet's nest. Just my input.
Okay. Senator Chipman, did you have another?
Yeah, I had a question. If we were to, I know the motions ought not to pass, which I made, but if we were to pass this bill, we would essentially be banning all temporary signs in public places, including craft sales, farmers markets, like that, in public places, at intersections and stuff like that, correct?
That's correct. Representative Ordway, I know you're with us. Would you like to add anything?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
I'm driving to the beautiful burg of Sinclair, Maine. Yeah. So I understand all the issues, especially the First Amendment ones, and it would be a ban all. As far as municipalities, I would say that First Amendment thing of banning anything in the municipal ordinance, that First Amendment would override that, and it does in many. Municipal governments can only regulate size and duration, not content or anything. So municipals only can do size and content. Other than that, I don't want to cause anybody, heartache, but we really mess this state up every year. That's where I'm at on it. Like I say, that First Amendment shouldn't apply if we do it all. And like Representative Perry said, it does not stop private property owners from putting signs on private property.
Mr. Chair?
That's all I.
Hold on just a second. Did you have anything else, Representative Ordway? Is that?
Well, I just wanted to ask the analyst, I guess, to get the question clarified. If we were to pass the bill as it is, would we be prohibiting all signs in public places, including craft sales, farmers markets at intersections of public places where people are going to see them more than maybe on private property? Is that what the bill would do?
Mr. Taub, question?
Actually, yeah, Mr. Taub or maybe Sam.
I mean, Sam, you can jump in if I get this wrong or if you disagree, but I think if this were to pass, all kinds of signs would be barred. So for example, if a craft fair wanted to put up a sign in like the island of a road or at the intersection or on the shoulder, the way you see the signs now, all of those kinds of signs would be banned. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify, because that's my concern. I mean, if we could just ban political signs or something, that'd be one thing, which we can't according to the court decisions. So we're really looking at something that bans all signs, including farmers markets and craft sales and places like that, which I wouldn't want to do that, because the intersections really where they're going to see those signs the most, more than private property. It's those intersections where people stop and wait at a red light or a stop sign, they're going to see the sign. I don't really want to make the motion not to pass.
Yep, thank you. Representative Bryant.
He's muted.
I know.
He put his hand up, so I figured he might have been back on with
Can
us.
can you hear me now?
There you go. Welcome, Representative Bryant.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to support the motion. I feel that taking away that right for the people in the public way to be able to put up a sign, especially where you're going to eliminate all of them, is wrong. So I support the motion on not to pass.
Thank you. Other questions of anybody? Either Mr. Taub or the analyst or anything else? Seeing none, the motion was ought not to pass. Duly seconded. Darlene?
Could the people that don't have their video on, please turn it on? Senator Diamond?
Yes.
Representative Martin?
Yes.
Senator Farren?
Yes.
Representative Perkins?
Yes.
Representative Perry? Representative Perry?
I want to say no, but I'm not going to make this a 12-1 report.
So are you saying yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Williams?
Yes.
Representative Dustin White?
No.
Senator Chipman?
Yes.
Representative Bryant?
Yes.
Representative Bruce White?
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin?
Yes.
Representative O'Connell?
Yes.
And Representative Seabra?
Yes.
12-1. 12 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
Thank you. The motion ought not to pass prevails. A vote 12 in favor of the motion, 1 in opposition. We'll close the work session on LD 395.
Oh, Dustin, are you just going ought to pass?
Representative
Yes,
White,
please.
You're just going to be up not, okay.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Now going to go to LD 186, an act to allow signs in a public right of way to be removed by the landowner, presented by Representative Kinney of Knox. Sam, can you help us refresh what happened at this hearing?
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Yep. So same bill analysis as before because I put them side by side. This bill provides that an owner of land adjacent to a public right-of-way within which a temporary sign has been placed does not commit a civil violation for taking, defacing, or disturbing the temporary sign. At the public hearing, proponents of the bill included the sponsor, Representative Kinney. Opponents included the Wild Blueberry Commission of Maine, and Maine DOT testified neither for nor against. Under the current law, an owner of land adjacent to a public right-of-way within which a temporary sign has been placed is subject, as is everyone else, to a fine of up to $250 for the unlawful removal, defacement, or disturbance of a temporary sign on the right-of-way adjacent to that person's land. So the big difference here is this bill would exempt such landowners from the current statute. I noted a technical issue when I was reviewing this bill that it is unclear from the way the bill is drafted how far from the person's property these landowners may go to remove a sign. And I think from the language, it is also unclear if the sign that person removes must even be on the adjacent land. I'm guessing this was not what was intended by the bill, but I just wanted to note that if you were to go forward with this, I would recommend, clarifying that language at least as to make sure that the, sign being removed is the sign that's actually on the adjacent land, not just any temporary sign. And maybe even go so far as to specify a distance if you feel that's necessary. A couple legal issues to note with this bill. First, this also raises a slightly different First Amendment concern, and I know that Chris Hobb is here again and ready to speak on that specific concern as relevant to this bill. But another legal issue I wanted to note for the committee is that although this bill removes the civil violation for these property orders for removing temporary signs, they may still be subject to criminal violations under Title 17A, specifically in sections 353 regarding theft and sections 806 regarding damaging, defacing, or destroying someone else's property. I did check with the state police on this, and that said that they said that would be their understanding as well. So again, not a major issue that can't be fixed, but just something to be aware of if you were to move forward with this, that those changes would likely should be addressed as well. And that's all I've got for you, unless you've got any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions of Sam? From the committee, seeing none. Mr. Taub, would you mind commenting on this as you did the last one, please?
So this one's interesting, and I think this one would trigger a pretty substantial First Amendment challenge. One sort of, I mean, the public right-of-way, even though it might be adjacent to someone's property, it's still owned by the public. It's not owned by the person. And I think a lot of people just assume that they own that, but they don't. So one of the kind of the ways that I sort of conceptualize this is like a classic sort of First Amendment situation is when you have like a public square, and the town allows people to come to the public square and stand up on a soapbox and talk about whatever they want. And the town can't say, well, you can only talk about these topics and not these not these other topics. The analogy that I would draw here is if the town said, well, you can talk about whatever you want in the public square as long as all the people who live in the buildings that surround the public square don't object to what you're saying. If someone doesn't like what you're saying, then you can't talk. I think that would almost certainly be unconstitutional because you're giving sort of veto rights over people. And I think it'd be very difficult to justify. I mean, I definitely get what the motivation is here for this, which is that people are unhappy because there'll be signs up in front of their business or their house, and it expresses some cause that they don't agree with, and it might be a very controversial thing, and they don't like that people are associating that cause with them, that they think that they're the ones who put the sign there. But still, I just think because you're giving veto power over people as to what gets said in a public space, I think that would be very, very problematic. And I think it would be especially problematic for organizations that have extremely controversial messages, where there are probably very few people who would want those messages outside of their home or business. So this is really going to sort of potentially disproportionately fall on sort of the most controversial kind of speakers. I also think, and I agree with Sam about sort of the other legal issues that he identified. I could also see there being maybe situations where you have maybe more than one landowner that's adjacent to a right-of-way. And so what happens when one landowner is okay with the sign, but the other adjacent landowner isn't okay with the sign? Does it just become, a constant battle of someone putting up a sign, someone taking down the sign? That's not really as significant an issue, I don't think, as the First Amendment issue is. And I'm not aware of any cases that are on point. But I do think the idea that you're sort of ceding the public space to the veto power of the people who are next to it, I think a court would find that is probably a First Amendment concern.
Thank you for that, Mr. Taub. Are there questions from the committee of Ms. Taub? Yes, Representative Seabrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a scenario. Last campaign, my opponent put 4 of his signs in front of my house. I don't have a right to take them down. So it confuses the voters. I have a right now, you're saying, because my property line doesn't go to the road. You're saying that the state owns my property, whatever it is, 16 feet off the center line. So I don't have a right to stop somebody from putting a sign in front of there. People know in this community that I am a solidly pro-life person. You put pro-choice signs in front of my house, I'm not allowed to take them down. I put a sign up in front of Bill Diamond's house that says, Bill Diamond's a jerk. He's not allowed to take the sign down. I think that's absolutely incorrect. That my property line does not end where the right-of-way begins. That's why it's called the right-of-way, because my right-of-way is allowing them, or in my case, I've got a CMP power line right-of-way going down to my neighbors on the corner of my property. I still own that property. They have a right of way. So for us, especially in this climate that we're living in now, where civility has gone out the window, and people think it's their right to just do what they want, there must be a way for a property owner to stop aggressive people from putting signs in front of their house. That's what we're talking about. So just to say, oh well, the First Amendment doesn't allow it because it's it's not right for the person next to it to pick up a sign. We're not talking about next to it. We're talking about in front of people's property that they own, that they pay for, that they pay taxes on. There's got to be a way to do this because this issue keeps coming up. Same thing with the temporary signs. Man, we have heard these temporary sign things so many times. You look at the list of bills that we've had with temporary signs, it's the same thing. So there's got to be a way so that property owners' rights can be protected and the free speech can be protected at the same time. But my property does not end where the right-of-way begins.
Thank you, Representative Seaborn. Mr. Todd, would you care to respond to that, or not? You don't have to, certainly.
Well, I mean, I would defer to the DOT on this issue, and my understanding though is that it is the state or the municipality or whoever owns the right of way that is their property. If I'm wrong, I'm ready to be corrected about that. But I've always understood that the right of way is owned by the public.
Okay, Representative Martin has a question. Thomas Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Representative Seaborn is sort of right. I used to be a public works director in my former life. So, and we run into this all the time. Is the tree, is the town's, or is the tree the homeowner? It's always the town's when it needs to come down. But if you need to maintain it, then it belongs to the homeowner. So there's 2 types of roads in Maine, and this came from Peter Coughlin at MDOT, and who runs the local road center. And there are two types of roads in Maine. We have roads, and then we have ways, which are right-of-ways. So a town could have a combination. MDOT owns their roads, so they truly own to the right-of-way. So MDOT would have say of what's inside the right-of-way. But on a town road, if the town owns the road, they don't really own the road. The homeowner owns to the center line of the road. And there's always some argument as to where that tree is, because back in the day, the path of least resistance is kind of where the road went. So the road could have been offset by 10 feet, say, but the right of way always is that, your 4-rod road, your 5-rod road. So your right of way kind of travels with that road. So that's my 2 cents worth. So Representative Seaborn is right. On some roads, you actually own to the center line of the road, because you have your sewer line replaced, you have to pay for it to the center of the road. The town doesn't pick it up. So, and again, who gets the best lawyer, I guess, kind of thing too. But that's how it was explained to me.
And I think just to be clear, the current prohibition is only talking about signs within the public right of way. So if in fact a homeowner does own all the way to the center line or to the shoulder or whatever, I would assume that means that there is no public right of way there. And so that that would not authorize someone. I mean, at that point, someone is putting a sign on private property, and the private property owner, I would think, would have the right to remove the sign. So right now, you know, people only have an absolute right to put signs in the public right of way.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Representative Martin. That was helpful. Representative Perry.
Yeah, I guess the problem, and maybe the problem, the wording of the bill is this adjacent word. I think it should be in front of, or come up with whatever terminology you want. But I can imagine most people wouldn't like, I won't go into that. You could have some really offensive signs put in front of your house that every single person on this committee would not want in front of their house. And so we really need to figure a way on this. And this is why I was really supporting the bill before, because we're getting into it here. And we've always had good civil discourse during political campaigns and everything else, but there's a lot of groups on both sides, and signs are getting put up everywhere. And it doesn't seem to matter if you want the sign in front of your house. There could be signs going in front of every single person on this committee, and we may not want those signs out front. And I can think of some real despicable ones that nobody would want in front. But if we keep this the way it is, with the current civil discourse we have right now, this is going to get ugly. And we've got to look at this. Either we've got to stop them altogether, or we've got to allow a homeowner that right in front of their house shouldn't have to be advertising for something they are against. And maybe it's the word adjacent that's getting people confused on this, but the whole thing is about, I shouldn't have to, Bill Diamond shouldn't have to, Danny Martin shouldn't have to, Brad Farron shouldn't have to put something in front of their house as an advertisement that they're 1000% against. And I don't think anybody feels that way. I mean, we need to figure this out, because whenever I put a sign up for my campaign, I had one on a corner one time by the stop sign. And the homeowner that owned the corner, it was 2 state roads. I knew I could put it there. They asked me to take it down, and I took it down. The next day, my opponent's sign went up. So fine, but you know, and I knew that I could put a sign there, but I respected them. But that was a long time ago. And I get calls all the time from supporters of me that get mad because my opponent might put a sign in front of their house, and they don't know what they're supposed to do or not supposed to do. And we've got to figure out something on this, that if we don't, we're going to have a real mess.
Thank you, Representative Perry. Representative Tom Martin, your hand's still up, or did you have another question? Nope, good. Representative Seabrook, did you have another comment, question? Nope, okay. I would like to have, maybe we could just have a little help from DOT. I know Megan Russo is with us. Could you share or shed any light on this bill?
Sure.
And the discussion? Thank you.
Sure. Megan Russo, Maine DOT. So as I testified, as Sam mentioned, we testified neither for nor against the bill, as we tend to do on temporary sign bills, because we take our direction from the committee. We are the agency that's responsible for enforcing the temporary sign law. We do see some potential problems with this legislation, in that there would be no way for us to enforce it. And believe me, this committee knows nobody deals with temporary signs probably more than me at DOT and our crews that are responsible for going out and picking up illegal signs. But we do see negative implications potentially. I think that, and I'll let Chris also speak to this again, but I think that there could be challenges on a First Amendment basis, based on the fact that people are able to pick and choose which signs come out of the ground. In terms of right of way, I can't speak to towns right away, but in terms of the state, not to disagree with the good representative from Naples, but Maine DOT is responsible, and we do own a certain width that is considered the public right of way. So some people that abut up to that property line may feel that because they take care of that land, that it is part of their personal property. There is a designated right-of-way width on state roads, and that width does vary, but I generally tell people that it is 33 feet back from the center line, so 66 feet total. And that's where we allow temporary signs to be placed.
Thank you for that. Questions of Megan while she's right with us? Representative Perry?
Not really a question for Megan, but I guess an overall either to the gentleman from the AG's office or whatever. Does the homeowner not have any First Amendment rights either? Because it seems though the First Amendment right for the person placing the sign there is okay, but where's the right of the homeowner, I guess?
Mr. Taub, could you comment on that in any way you'd like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously all of us have First Amendment rights, but at the end of the day, I think sort of the rub here, as Megan said, even though homeowners might think that they own the land all the way to the road, in a lot of cases they actually don't. And so when someone is putting up a sign in the public right of way, that's public land essentially, right? I mean they're putting it up on state property, and so certainly the homeowner has the First Amendment right to put his or her own signs up there to compete with the message. I mean, if someone puts a pro-life sign up, the homeowner has the right to put up a pro-choice sign, or if someone puts up a Republican sign, someone else can put up a Democrat sign. So certainly the homeowner can exercise their own First Amendment rights in that public space. But I think a court would really be troubled with the idea that the state is allowing private individuals to dictate what messages get displayed on public grounds.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Danny Meyer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to disagree with my good friend, Representative Tom Martin, as to whether or not town roads, where the right of way is. Clearly, if a townway has a 50-foot stretch, it's my understanding that the property owner does not own that 25 stretch that goes to the center line. Otherwise, any property owner would have the ability to tear up half the road. So I just want to share a disagreement, and I think I'm pretty. I think I've got the right answer on this one, Tom.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Other questions? What is the desire of the committee? Anybody have? Yes, Senator Farren.
I think Representative Martin's right.
Thank you.
Which one?
That's a good point. Thank you.
That's all. No, seriously, folks, I do think that raises an issue. And I know we're trying to move things along, but should we do a little deeper dive into where the right of way is and those legal questions has kind of been answered, so that we know the facts? We're going with input that people have from gut feelings and what they've been told, but we really haven't got a clear opinion of where that right of way is and who owns what.
Thank you for that. I remind the committee that the committee could also ask for a study on this, like it could on any issue. So keep that, please keep that in your mind. Senator Chipman.
Yeah, thank you. It seems like this is pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's either public property or it's not. I mean, we've heard from officials with the state that the right of way is a certain distance from the center line. If the sign's in the public way, it's in the public way. And it seems like we try to do anything to regulate that and let homeowners take down things in the public way, we're going to run afoul of the Constitution and what we can legally do and what we can't. So it's as frustrating as it might be. I mean, I certainly would be frustrated if somebody put a sign up in front of my house that I didn't agree with, but if it's in the public right of way, that's the public right of way. It doesn't seem like there's anything I could do about it or anybody else would be able to do about it. And if we pass a bill to try to allow folks to do something about it, I think it's probably not legal to do that, it seems like. So it's pretty cut and dry for me, although it may present some frustrating situations for people, I'm sure. So I'd like to make a motion ought not to pass.
Motion is made ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Senator, second it.
Second by Representative Martin. Representative Tom Martin had a question. Or did you all done with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I was just gonna just say that all that information is on MDOT's website. That's where I was directed to as well. And again, if you're trying to figure out if you're on a town road versus a state road, chances are if you've got a numbered road in front of your house, it's a state road. They've numbered it and they own it, they maintain it. The town may plow it because they're reimbursed from the state to do that, but if you're on 202 in Wyndham, there's a good chance that's a state road and they own to the right-of-way line, where if you're on a side street in Wyndham, you know, the town has a right-of-way over somebody's property because they own to the middle, but they still have that right-of-way and are obligated to maintain the road. Just like if they had not maintained it for 30 plus years, then that they would not be able to go over that right away anymore because it reverts back to, you probably remember the paper street thing years ago, it reverted back to homeowners. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you for that, Representative Martin. Representative O'Connell.
I may be naive, but I'd like to echo Representative Seabra in that there's got to be an ounce of civility with this process. It just boggles my mind. I mean, that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you for that. Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would it be possible to hear from the sponsor? She's been watching patiently here on maybe some exact wording that might have been a little off.
Yes, we sure can. Chair would invite Representative Kinney to join us with any comments you'd like to make.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Thank you, Representative Perry, for inviting me in to speak. The intent of my putting this in was not to cause all this crazy conversation. It's about the landowner who's putting up a sign they disagree with in front of their house. And I have to respectfully disagree with Senator Chipman. I think if somebody put a sign in front of his house, he's not going to leave it there. He's going to want to take it down, as would any of us. It does come to civility. And unfortunately, we have lost a lot of civility lately. And the purpose of this was just to allow a landowner to be able to take the sign down of possibly their opponent, of possibly just something, the discussion went around pro-life, pro-choice. I'm with Representative Seabra. I am extremely pro-life. And if someone started to put up signs in front of my farm that said they are going to push for Planned Parenthood and that everything that they do and their abortions are the thing that we have to support, I want to take those down. That goes against every fiber of my being. And I should be able to do that because it's in front of my property that I do pay taxes on. And it's just something simple. This was in law just a few sessions ago. It's just something simple that shouldn't be an issue. I know for myself personally, several of my signs were taken down on these so-called right-of-ways. Part of my intention was that the landowner takes it down and needs to somehow reach out to the sign owner, which has to have information on it, stating who it belongs to, reach out to the sign owner to return it. Make a good faith effort. I'm not saying take it down, destroy it. I'm saying take it down and return it to the sign owner. That was my intent.
Well, thank you, Representative Kennedy. It's helpful to be reminded of your intent and what your purpose was there. Representative Seabra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So currently in the main election laws and ethics, there's a ruling that there's a rule in there that says you can't put a sign within 20 feet of another sign. So is that counter to what the state is doing with all the other temporary sign laws this time? Is that a inconsistency in state law? Because if we have temporary signs that can't be placed within a certain amount of distance, that means there's a crack in the door for us to be able to do something like this. Just a suggestion.
Well, thank you. We'll ask Megan, but before she answers, I think that 20 feet or whatever the distance is presently is for the same sign. So to avoid clustering, that sort of thing. But Megan, would you like to respond to Representative Seabrook?
Sure. I'm not. So typically the Ethics Commission will actually defer to us with sign inquiries. I have them send a lot of people to me when somebody calls them with a sign question. Statute states it's 30 feet per sign, but it's either the same or substantially the same message. So I couldn't, if I put a vote for Megan sign down, I would need to go 30 feet before I put another vote for Megan sign. But if there was a vote for Representative Seabrook, I could put the vote for Megan right next to that sign.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yes, got it. Representative, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was involved in the drafting of that language, this language about a temporary sign can't be within 30 feet of another temporary sign bearing the same or substantially the same message. And as I sort of alluded to before, this was a really hard statute to draft because we were trying to deal with sort of some of the concerns people were raising without running afoul of the First Amendment. And so, as I mentioned before, one of the concerns people had is when you drive up, past like a traffic island and there's 30 signs all clustered together for the exact same candidate. And people are wondering like, why do we need to have 30 signs for that one candidate? So we came up with this language to try to sort of avoid that situation. This language has never been challenged as far as I know. But I do think that this language that we developed is really materially different than the idea that you're going to give an adjacent landowner veto power over a temporary sign. So to the extent that the committee thinks there's some way sort of to build upon that language, I just don't see it. I think they're really two completely different issues. So for what it's worth.
Thank you. Helpful. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Question to Representative Kinney, if I may.
Yes.
Representative Kinney, you indicated in your testimony just now that a similar bill or something rather identical to what you're proposing was recently repealed. And if that's the case, would you know when and why it might have been repealed?
Sure. Yeah, I believe it was in the 128th that when we dealt, and Megan might know better on this, that there was language repealed, and the language used to state, because I remember noticing it my first term running, and I ran in the 127th was my first term. There was language that allowed the landowner to be able to remove the temporary sign without an issue. And I believe that language also said that the landowner needed to try to return it to the sign owner. And that was the only language I was trying to put back into statute. And I have to apologize. I've been kind of out of it a little bit the last week and a half because I had emergency surgery a couple weeks ago. So I haven't done a lot of the research myself recently, but I am. That's my only intent. I just wanted to be able to put this language back. And it came from, oddly, it came from in the 127th when I ran for office. There were people putting signs up on my father-in-law's property and he would take them down. And that was how I knew about the language, because I looked it up for him, because I think I had gotten a notice from Megan telling me what I had to do as far as temporary signs were concerned. And so I was really trying to make sure as a candidate that I was doing things to the letter of the law. My intention with this has never been to squash anybody's First Amendment rights. And I think we do have to look at the fact that we all have First Amendment rights. And when it's showing up on our front lawns, it does violate the landowner's First Amendment right to not have to have that notice in front of their property.
Right. Thank you, Representative Kinney. But I guess, the legislature in its wisdom did in fact repeal that bill. Now I'm just wondering why. It was a constitutional issue or I don't have the answer, but I thought you might.
Yeah, I think Megan mentioned it in her testimony that there was something federally that happened about that time. There was a federal issue with First Amendment rights.
We'll check into that right now. While we're doing. And Sam, I know your hand is up. Maybe you'll have some information for us. Sam. Perlman.
Thanks, Senator Diamond. Yeah, I don't have language about what was specifically repealed at that time, but I will tell you that looking at the statutory history, which I was just doing while this conversation was happening, it appears the language that was repealed was the former section 1917A. So like our current removal statute section is 1917B. And I think it was repealed as part of this new temporary sign regulation regime that was in response to that Reed decision. So I unfortunately, I'm not able to pull up the repealed language online at the moment, but that is something I believe I could get for the committee if in the future, if you want it. You can see what it says, and maybe I could try to dig out some history on it too.
Thank you, Sam. Megan, would you, anything you want to add? I know Representative Kinney referenced some comments that you had made.
Yep. So what I was referencing in my testimony was that during the 127th, the committee heard, it was LD 1592, which was the bill that we needed to sponsor to change our temporary sign law at the time due to the Reed decision. So prior to us changing the law, our temporary sign law specifically mentioned campaign signs and gave a time frame for campaign signs to be in the public right of way. Well, that was not in conformity with the Reed decision. So we had to, hence why we now have the law that we do now. The only other thing I would question, and Chris may have said this too, but I guess our one of our concerns would be is if this bill did pass, could it be viewed as regulating on a content base? And that is a direct violation of the Reed decision, the Supreme Court decision.
Thank you, Megan. Representative Seabrook, question, comment?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I know we're talking about, we're mostly talking about political signs here or messages with the political context, but we've got to remember that this temporary sign law really has to do with a lot of other things other than the political aspect of this. I really think we need to flush this out a little bit more. Do we have any other sign bills, or are these two is today sign bill day?
My answer to that is I believe there are others, but only by rumor, Representative Seabrook.
Okay.
We took what we had, so it wasn't because we were definitely convinced or knew that there'd be no more signs coming. Other comments, questions? Frankly, I would expect there would be more signs. I think the average person would probably say that. Other questions from the committee? We have a motion ought not to pass. Senator Chipman, seconded by Representative Bryant. Any further comments? Questions? All right, Darlene, take us.
Okay, everybody needs to put the video back on. Senator Diamond.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Senator Farren.
I'm a yes.
Representative Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Perry.
Yes.
Representative Williams. You need to unmute. Representative Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Representative Dustin White.
No.
Senator Chipman.
Yes.
Representative Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Bruce White.
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin.
Yes.
Representative O'Connell.
Yes.
And Representative Seabrook. Where'd you go?
There we go. Yes.
Okay, 12 in favor and 1 in opposition.
The motion ought not to pass prevails, 12 in favor, 1 in opposition.
And is Representative White going ought to pass? Ought to pass as amended?
Yes, the vote against the ought not to pass, Representative White, you want another situation?
I move ought to pass, please.
Just ought to pass?
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, please.
All right, that then closes the work session on LD 186. Thank you, everybody, for your duration. We appreciate your hanging in with us. We will now open the work session on LD 311. An act to require third-party certification for persons undertaking corrosion prevention and mitigation projects for public water supply and wastewater infrastructure and bridges, presented by Senator Chipman. Sam?
Thanks, Senator Diamond. This bill requires the adoption of rules by both the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Transportation governing projects costing $50,000 or more, consisting of corrosion prevention and mitigation for bridges, public water supply infrastructure, and public wastewater infrastructure. Rules adopted pursuant to this legislation must include establishing a process for ensuring that corrosion prevention and mitigation activities are performed in accordance with established corrosion prevention and mitigation standards, requiring the use of personnel who are industry trained and industry certified in corrosion prevention and mitigation methods, and requiring plans to prevent environmental degradation that might result from corrosion prevention and mitigation activities. Before I go any further and talk about the testimony and some technical issues and notes about the bill, I am aware that Maine DOT provided the committee with a proposed amendment that they had been working on, and if the committee's intent is to talk about that amendment, I think that the other notes I have on the bill might no longer be relevant. So I don't know, would you like me to continue?
Yeah, why don't we do this, Sam? Since everybody has, I believe everybody has a copy of that amendment. It is something everybody's been talking about. Why don't you do the amendment? If anybody wants anything clarified on the original bill, we can also do that. But let's go to the amendment.
Okay. So the department's amendment would essentially amend the bill by striking all the language as drafted, and it would replacing it to do a couple things. So one is it's going to remove the language regarding wastewater and public utilities and anything to do with the Department of Health and Human Services. And two, it's going to direct the Department of Transportation to adopt rules governing corrosion mitigation methods for bridges that are wholly under control of the state. And I believe their intent there was to not capture bridges that were under control of like municipalities or partially under control of the state. And the rest of it, I believe, is basically just directing the department in the adoption of the rules to do what they told the committee they're already doing in regard to corrosion prevention and mitigation. One thing a couple of things just to note about this, it would change this from an act to a resolve. There is not, it wouldn't be amending like statutory language. It would be like it would be a legal directive telling the department to adopt the rules this like one time. And the rules would be routine technical rules. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is I did review this because I received the amendment when everybody else did, and I think the language all works. I think the only thing that I might suggest to the committee is worth changing is just that the sentence that reads, "The rules are not intended to impede routine maintenance work performed by the department." I think it would be more clear to say the rules do not apply to routine maintenance work. That's just a kind of how we write things change. And otherwise, I think I might defer to the department on the specifics of why they went this way.
Yes, thank you for that. And before, if you have questions for Sam, we certainly will do those, but I wanted Deputy Commissioner Nina Fisher to share with us too. I know you've been working hard on this, the department has, and a lot of time and effort's been put in. So I think it would be good for us to hear from you where you've been and what you have.
Thank you, Senator. Again, I'm Nina Fisher, Deputy Commissioner for Maine DOT. It's not a surprise. We've opposed this bill for 3 times now. This compromise we view it as a compromise on our point. It's a reluctant one at that. But I think by addressing the environmental concerns that are raised as part of this bill and outlining the standards that we feel are appropriate and should be followed, which are national standards, that we are addressing those concerns. Obviously, there's one measure that the bill did have, the fact that we had to adopt rules and statute. By changing this to a resolve, we're removing that requirement. If the committee feels strongly that that should be in there, we can have that conversation. But this is really in our effort. This is a compromise to really kind of move this issue incrementally, as probably not as far forward as folks would like, but any much further, we're very much still in opposition.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Fisher. Questions of the Deputy Commissioner or of Sam by any member of the committee? Any clarifications that are needed? Yes, where Senator Chipman.
Yeah, so I just want to thank the folks at the department and the time that you've put into working on this, Ms. Russo and Ms. Fisher. And we, I know a lot of work's been put into it. We got the amendment yesterday afternoon. Just so folks know, on this bill, Senator Jackson had sponsored this bill last session and had a lot of bills on it this time around, and had asked me if I'd be willing to sponsor it, and I supported it over the years. And there was an issue in my district that I talked about in the public hearing that sort of brought this issue to front and center for me. So I agreed to sponsor the bill and to support the bill. And I reached out to him, to see if he'd had a chance to look at the amendment. I hadn't had a chance to read through all the materials that Megan sent because I've been busy chairing another committee and very busy like many of us. So I hadn't had a chance to read through everything, but I talked with him this morning, and he had asked if we could have some more time to look through things, read through the amendment, look at the other materials, the background materials that Megan had sent, and have some discussions on it as opposed to voting on it today. So I wanted to, I guess, bring that up to the committee. I know that, maybe folks are on board with the amendment and want to move something forward today, but there is a desire to have some more time since we just got that amendment yesterday, late afternoon. And Ms. Russo, just have some more time to read through it and to consider it for myself and the Senate President. So I wanted to put that request out there and see what folks, there's a desire to allow a little bit more time.
Thank you. Other questions, comments about LD 311 and the amendment? We're in the position for a motion if somebody would like to make that. Yes, I think I just saw hands. Oh, yes, Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I motion to table.
Motion's been made to table. Is there a second?
I might second that.
Senator Chipman seconded. Motion to table is not debatable. Darlene, would you take us through that motion?
Sure. I need people to turn their cameras on. Senator Diamond?
No.
Representative Martin?
No.
No. Senator Farren?
No.
Representative Perkins?
No.
Representative Perry?
No.
Representative Williams,
No.
Representative Dustin White,
No.
Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
No.
Representative Tom Martin,
No.
Representative O'Connell,
No.
and Representative Seabra.
No.
Okay, 2 in favor of the tabling motion, 11 in opposition. Motion
Thank you.
fails.
The motion to table fails, and we will now take another motion that's available. Anybody wants to make a motion? Senator Farren.
Yes, as we've heard, we've this is the third time around with this bill, and I think that the concerns that Senator Chipman raised on the environmental piece, the department's worked very hard on and putting these in. So I would like to make a motion ought to pass as amended by the amendment offered by the Department of Transportation with the language review piece that Sam brought up during his review of the language.
Thank you for that. The motion will pass as amended, seconded by Representative White. Discussion on the motion. Motion is ought to pass as amended, as was presented, the amendment by the department and word suggested change by Sam. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We've clearly had a lot of discussion on this and some thoughts. And short of a DOT's voted ought to pass on the original bill. And knowing full well that it would have been a divided report, and as pointed out in the last previous sessions, this has been defeated, and God only knows where this piece of legislation would have gone. The amendment I can live with some reluctance. It puts a foot in the door. It's something that I think can be enacted, and for that reason, I will support the proposed amendment and the motion that's before us.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Representative O'Connell.
There were issues with the original bill that I had problems with, and they've been addressed, and I appreciate that. So I can see us moving forward.
Thank you for that. Representative Bruce White.
Yes, thank you. And I would say, just last session that we voted this down 10-0. And I think the compromise is reasonable, and I appreciate what Representative Danny Martin just said, and I think it makes a lot of sense with the amendment.
Thank you for that. Representative Williams.
Muted.
Going to hear you, Representative
Here
Williams.
I am.
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
I too agree with Representative Danny Martin. I would prefer a larger step forward, but considering its history, this is at least a first step forward, and it will take some vigilance on our part to make sure that continues, but I'll support this bill.
Thank you. Representative Seabra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too will be supporting the amended version. This committee has a long history of proper oversight and does not presume to manage and dictate the priorities, changes, or adjustments to the Maine Department of Transportation, and for good reason. This committee has long been able to hold a consensus position that the department's engineering, the department's road and bridge maintenance, the department's long-term planning, the set schedule for routine maintenance, as well as prioritizing projects on the work plan. These are all organized and designed based on data and award-winning. We're talking about award-winning professional standard practices. If you go down to the green building down the street, you will see a trophy case of awards that our department has won because of their award-winning practices, all gathered over years and years of dealing with our weather, our climate, our traffic patterns. Each of these is unique to Maine. Our roads and bridges are all unique compared to the rest of the country. These factors make the department and not politicians best able to dictate what they do. So I was not going to support this amendment, but I will support the amendment because of the fact that we've gotten consensus on it, and it moves the issue forward in a manner that makes it, I think, compromised. I mean, that's what we're here to do, and I do appreciate your leadership on this, Senator.
Thank you very much. I also want to add that everybody worked very, very hard on this, worked long and hard on it. I know people gave in on positions that they held strongly to come to an agreement. The department worked hard. Certainly Deputy Fisher did, and I especially appreciate committee members who I know had strong feelings one way or the other, and to come together is, I think it's a tribute for all of the work that's been done, and for the integrity of the committee. I really appreciate that. So thank you to everybody for all your hard work. We have a motion not to pass as amended. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, Darlene, we're up to you.
Okay, turn your videos on. Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White,
Yes.
Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
No.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin,
Yes.
Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Seabra.
Yes.
12 in the affirmative and 1 in the negative.
Thank you. The vote ought to pass as amended prevails, 12 in favor of the motion, 1 in opposition. Close the work session on LD 311. Again, thank you, everybody. I know how hard everybody worked. I really appreciate it. It's a tribute to all of you. So thank you for that. Sam, you have some things. Oh, excuse me, I want to go to Representative Seabra first. Are you still up, Representative Seabra, or is that just a hand that was left over?
This thing, you got to take it down, and I forgot to take it down, so sorry about that, Bill.
No problem, you got it. Sam, I know you had a couple of amendments you wanted to run by us too.
That's correct. But before I go there, I just wanted to know, was the minority report on this last bill, was that just a straight not to pass, or did you have another proposal?
Representative Bryant, could you help us with that? You had voted no. Did you have another motion you wanted to include, or another position, I think, as opposed to the ought to pass?
I have, the motion would be ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass?
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Representative
just for clarification, is that ought not to pass on the amended version, or ought not to pass on the motion that was made, or on the original bill?
Yeah, good question.
Thank you, Representative Martin. You're absolutely right. It's ought not to pass on the motion.
Okay.
Which is the amended to the bill.
Well, you voted no on the motion. So is your position, do you want your minority report to be an ought to pass on the bill, or ought to pass, just leave it as ought not to pass?
Just leave it ought not to pass.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, yeah, the motion that prevailed was ought to pass as amended.
Yes.
The good Representative Bryant made a motion no on that motion. So his motion is not ought not to pass, but it's got to be ought to pass or something else, correct?
His minority report could be, I believe, his minority report is what we're talking about. And I
Yes.
believe that would be, ought not to pass on. He can go anywhere he wants to. The amended, what we passed was our motion, which prevailed. He can
Right.
go anywhere he wants with his minority report. Let's make sure, Representative Bryant, you just wanted to what? You understand? You can say, I want, my minority report is going to be to pass the bill as it was. And I think that's what.
Understandable. I think the bill needed more work. It needed more time to work.
Right.
And I definitely don't want the amendment because it's not clean. So
Right.
if it makes Representative Martin feel more comfortable, I would just say ought to pass on the original bill. That's what he needs.
No,
I don't need that. That makes it clearer, then let's do it.
That's okay. I'll go to Representative Martin in a second, but it's really up to you. We don't want you to feel like you got to go any way or the other. We just have to get a minority report. That's all. So that's why I asked the question, to make sure you were in a comfortable position where you wanted to be.
I'm comfortable not to pass, but
Okay. Sam, you can work that, right? Yes, okay.
Got it.
Sam, did you have something else you wanted to bring to us?
Yeah, but I see that Senator Chipman's hand is raised, so I don't want to cut him off.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Senator Chipman. Yes.
I just wanted to say that if the report is ought to pass on the original bill, then I would want to support that myself. Obviously, it's my bill, so I'd support the bill as it was presented.
Oh, yeah, the motion was ought to pass as amended. That's
Right.
what we'll take.
But I mean, if the minority report, Representative Bryant, if his report is supporting the bill as it was presented, then I would voice support for that as well.
Representative Bryant?
I feel that I ought not to pass across the board. I don't want the bill as it is because it's not where we want to be. I don't want to say I ought to pass on something I'm not comfortable with either. So ought not to pass across the board and move it out and take it back another day if that's what they choose. I don't want any of it out there. My record of minority report would be ought not to pass. across
Sam,
the board.
you got that, Sam? Yes, okay. We got it. We're all set. All right, you had other amendments?
Yes. So recently, this committee had voted ought to pass as amended on LD 312, and that was an act to extend the use of the Maine bicentennial registration plates through 2021. I sent the committee a copy of what the amended version came out looking like. And as you'll see, I'm just going to walk you through it quickly. So we changed the title based on the fact that the committee wanted to extend the commission as well as the plates. So now the title just reflects that. On recommendation of the BMV, you had voted to remove that the plates must bear the expiration date. So that part, as you can see, by the way, I meant to make clear, I highlighted all of the changes that were made from the original draft. So you can see that we've struck the requirement that the expiration date must be displayed on the plates. We've clarified that all the plates this is on page 2, we've clarified that all the plates are now expiring on December 31st, 2021. The section 4 and section 5 of the bill, these are amending the original resolve that created the Bicentennial Commission, and just clarifying that the terms of the members are extended to the end of 2021, and that the commission now has another report due at the end of 2021. So it's just, that's what was necessary to extend the commission. And you can see that actually we struck what was formerly section 5 of the bill, which was notwithstanding the original resolve creating the plates. And the only reason we did that was because it became redundant. It doesn't actually do anything because we've amended the original resolve to extend the plates. So it just was not a necessary piece, and that's why it got struck. And that's it. We have not received fiscal information on this bill yet. So one thing I wanted to note for the committee is, you know, you have a session coming, session days coming up next week. One thing we often do at the very end of session usually is if we get a fiscal note after committees are authorized to meet, I have sometimes emailed the fiscal note to the committee in the past, and if you're okay with it, and no one wants to change it, we can just report the bill out as is. So because we're not meeting next week, that's an option I wanted to give you for dealing with the fiscal note in an effort to maybe get this ready for your session days next week. But that's at your discretion, and if you would rather just wait until you have another committee day to review the fiscal information once it comes through, you can do that. And the other thing I wanted to note is if this does end up having like a fiscal note that has costs associated with it, you know, if those costs affect the highway fund, it would get put on the highway table, and that may prevent you from being able to handle it at next week's session anyways. I'm not sure obviously what the plans are for that, but I wanted to kind of put all that information out there for you. Was that clear? Can I clarify it more?
No, I just want to clarify as well, and the commission, extending the commission is zero cost, obviously. It just gives them permission to continue to work. And I think we heard from Steve Ashcroft that the material they have, and if we don't change the date on the plate, I think that's going to be pretty much all minimal. But if it does come back with a fiscal note, the committee is going to have another shot at looking at it anyway, as you pointed out. So I think we could, when do you expect the fiscal note?
I'm honestly not sure. Everything that is kind of like ready to go has been marked as a priority now, so hopefully in the next day or so. And like I said, if we can do that process that we sometimes do at the end of session where I send the fiscal note to the committee, and if you're all okay with it, as in you don't want to make changes, we can report the bill out without meeting again.
That would be helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was just capping that off by saying, but if you do want to make changes of any kind, the committee would have to meet again. So that's
for the new members. It is routine for Sam to send out the amendments, and we take a look at them, but we don't hold up the process unless a committee member wants or has issues or concerns. So yes, thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Just for your information, and I suspect Darlene knows this as well, the House calendar for next week, especially the 10th, is going to be out and printed Monday afternoon. So I just wanted to share that with you. And it would be great, Sam, if you could work with Darlene and at least let the chairs and the leads know ahead of time what will be on the calendar. That'd be great. That'd be helpful. So I know that leadership is putting a lot of pressure on you guys to spit out the bills, and that's great. So if you could coordinate that with Darlene, that'd be helpful.
Thank you, Representative Martin. That's a good reminder. And on this bicentennial commission, we'd like to. It is an emergency, and the commission needs to be able to get this authority to continue on. So, whatever you can do to get that expedited, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Anything else, Sam? Do you have?
Yeah, I just have two more fiscal notes to review. So we're gonna go with the low-hanging fruit first. LD 128 that the committee voted straight out to pass on. This was authorizing DOT to enter into agreements with the United States Department of Transportation. Came back with no fiscal impact. So there's no fiscal note. That one's good to go. I really am just telling you because I had noted there may be one. So
okay.
And then the other one is for the Lighthouse Trust registration plate bill. This was LD 266. And I emailed you all the fiscal note for it. And if you want, I can walk through the language, but it basically just shows for the fiscal years of 2021 through 2023, and then give some projections for 2023, 2024, and 2025 of net cost savings to the highway fund, some and then like the way the money gets transferred through the other special revenue funds. And yeah, so if you want me to walk through the summary, I can do that.
Unless a committee, any member have a question, I think that's pretty standard. Any member of the committee would like to get more detail on this? Seeing none, Sam, I think we're okay.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to say again, this one I think came out the way the department indicated it would, just to be clear. Okay. That's all I had.
That's all you have. Anything by anybody else, House Chair Martin, anything you would like to add on to this?
Mr. Chair, I suspect that tomorrow is going to be a difficult day for our good friend, Representative Bryant, and his wife, Diane. And I just want you to know, Mark, that we'll be thinking of you.
Exactly. For sure. I think I lost everybody. Oh, I'm back. Good. Yes, thank you for that, Representative Martin. That's absolutely, you're speaking for all of us on that, for sure. Representative Bryant, we all have been and will continue to think about you and Diane and her loss and your loss and the family's loss. Representative Bryant, did you have a comment? You have a question?
I just wanted to thank you all for your consideration. You've been good, well supportive for that issue. My wife's father, as you know, is 97 years old, and he was active right up to the end and independent up to the end with a little help coming in. So, but thank you again for your consideration. I appreciate your comments and support.
Absolutely. And best to you this weekend. Anything else from anyone else on the committee? Yes,
No, Darlene.
Darlene. Yes, Darlene.
Okay, Representative Bryant, because we didn't have really any audio from him on LD 252, were you saying yes? Just you.
On 252, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's that. As far as getting bills reported out, if the amendments come in, you'll be getting an email because they're divided reports. You'll be getting an email from somebody else other than me saying, are you okay with this? Is this how you voted? So you need to respond right away so I can get them out.
Right. You mean from the chairs, from the chairs?
Well, the emails will come from the information office. When they're unanimous, it's just the chairs, but when they're divided reports,
I got it. Okay.
you all need to respond.
Very good. Excellent. Senator Chipman, you have a comment?
Yeah, just had a question. So now that we're doing things remotely online, how are our amendment reviews going to work? Are we still going to be looking through at amendments that Sam and other analysts bring to us? Or are we just going to do that?
Just like I suspect in your committee, Senator Chipman, we're going to be forwarding those amendments off to all committee members. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, but I mean, will we have any discussion about amendments, or will we just be asked to respond if we have a concern about it?
Yeah, most of the amendments are the result of the vote, actually, of the full intent of the bill. So we're most of the time, as you remember and as you know, they're mostly just routine because we want you to see it before we before it leaves the station, so to speak. So it's not like it's a new amendment. It's not something that we haven't even discussed. It's all the options. We all discussed this. It's part of the bill, part of whatever it is we reported out.
So we'll look at those as a committee, though. Like Sam will present them and they'll be put up on the screen or something like that, and we'll look at them. Or
we're going to see them. Sam, do you have a particular way you do the other? I know we get them in the email, but
yeah. So I can handle them however the committee wants to. I'm happy to screen share. The way I handled the one today for LD 312 was I just had emailed it to you and then, described what had been done. But if the committee would like me to screen share as I walk through them, that's I'm totally happy to do that. It's really whatever your preference is.
That actually might be a good idea. I mean, in the committee room, we had a different environment and you could just pass them out. We could see them instantly, but maybe when we're going over them as, they may be innocuous, but it'd be good for the committee to see them anyway. And that would take away the task of having to find it someplace in the folder or whatever else might be. So if everybody's okay with that, I think that would be best for the committee to be the best informed on that. Senator Chipman, you agree?
Yeah, I'd say I appreciate that. If we could do that, particularly on 311, my bill, I mean, I know that the department drafted an amendment, but there's still going to be like a formal amendment that comes from, I guess, from advisors, and there'll be a possible fiscal note, or there'll be some fiscal review or something. So we would look at those materials on the screen share as though we were in the committee room and looking at them on paper before we look at them on the screen and make any comments or make sure everybody, in agreement.
Good, we will. Excellent. Anything else from anybody? Seeing none, thanks again for all your hard work. And we won't be having any committee meetings next week, of course, but we'll see you in the in the Civic Center for sure. Thanks again, everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a good weekend.
Motion to adjourn.